Hello and welcome to this video tutorial on how to use Adobe Flash CS5. And in this video tutorial, I'll be showing you how to recreate the popular internet meme, Nyan Cat. If you do not know what Nyan Cat is, then it's the most popular internet meme from the 2010 to 2011 era. With over 24 million views, I'm sure that many of you have seen Nyan Cat, but you may not have known what it is. What Nyan Cat is a Pop-Tart, which is an American breakfast food that has cat-like legs, a head, and a tail, but is running in space with a rainbow coming out of its behind. Now, no one really knows where this internet meme came from, but it's taken over the internet by storm since late 2010. The reason why I chose to go over this internet meme is not for its large-based following, but instead it demonstrates the basics as well as some intermediate skills that can be taught in Adobe Flash CS5. Now with this basic knowledge of what Nyan Cat is, we can start creating our project file so that we can recreate this amazing internet meme. The project file that I'll be using for this tutorial is an ActionScript 3.0. Drag your cursor over to where it says ActionScript 3.0 under the Create New until the ActionScript 3.0 is highlighted in a gray rectangle box. Select this box with your left mouse button. Your workspace should now appear with a stage, a timeline, and an internal library, as well as all the other tools that you will be using for this tutorial. To make sure that your workspace is the same workspace as mine, please go up to Windows, down to Workspace, and hover over to Essentials and select it with your left mouse button. Adobe Flash will refresh itself. If your workspace still doesn't look like mine, then please go up to Windows, down to Workspace, but this time go down to Reset Essentials and select it with your left mouse button. Adobe Flash CS5 will refresh itself again. In order to create the basic features of Nyan Cat, we are going to need to import a reference image of Nyan Cat into Adobe Flash CS5's stage. In order to do this, drag your cursor over to Layer 1, double click on it until the name is highlighted in blue and a white rectangle box appears, and type in Photo. With Photo typed, now hit Enter. This just renamed Layer 1 to Photo. The layer Photo is where we're going to tell Adobe Flash CS5 to import the reference image of Nyan Cat. With our layer renamed, we can now import the actual image of Nyan Cat into our stage. So now let's import the actual reference image of Nyan Cat into our stage. To import a picture or concept art into Adobe Flash CS5 stage, we need to go up to File, down to Import, and hover over to Import to Stage. You could also import to stage by hitting Command R. And select Import to Stage with your left mouse button. A box may appear that says Preparing to Import. A larger pop-up menu will appear asking you to find the location of where your reference image may be. Once you have found the location of where your reference image may be, take your cursor, select the image with your left mouse button, and go down to the right bottom corner of the pop-up menu that says Open and select it with your left mouse button. Your reference image should appear on the stage. If you wish to make your reference image larger, then go over and select the Free Transform tool, or you can use the hotkey by pressing Q on your keyboard. You're going to want to use just the regular Free Transform tool instead of the Gradient Transform tool. So make sure you have selected the Free Transform tool. If you look at our reference image, it has a black bounding box around the image. You can select the black boxes by hitting the left mouse button and dragging your mouse to the corner of your trackpad or your mouse pad. Your reference image should be getting larger. If you wish to scale proportionally while dragging, hold down the Shift key. This will drag your reference image proportionally in both the length, the width, and the height. Alright, I think that should be large enough. You can see here that we still have some white of the stage and our reference image is going off the stage. Well, since we made this reference image so large, it can't completely fit on the stage. But since we just want the Nyan Cat part right now, we want to make sure that that part's on the stage. So I'm going to drag this reference image to the right so that it covers this white area so that we can have Nyan Cat in the middle of our stage. In order to do this, we must use our selection tool. Go over to the Tools panel and select the Selection tool. It is the black cursor on the very top of the toolbar. You can select it with the left mouse button or by using the hotkey V. Once your selection tool has been selected, go over to your reference image and select it with the left mouse button and drag it completely over the white area. You can now arrange your reference image to fit the stage. If you still need to scale and move your reference image, then please pause the video and use the free transform tool and the select tool until your reference image is the size and the position that you wish. Alright, now with the reference image sized and placed on our stage, we can now start tracing Nyan Cat. If you would like to draw your own version of Nyan Cat or some parody of it, then please feel free to free draw your own version. But in this tutorial, I'll be showing users how to trace an image so that they can have the exact image that was originally on their reference image. There are a few steps before we can begin tracing. The first step is to create a new layer. In order to create a new layer, we must drag our cursor all the way down to this bottom white square that has a smaller gradient type square in it and select it with our left mouse button. This will add layer 2. Layer 2 is the new layer that we will be tracing the first part of Nyan Cat on. Just like the photo layer, we will need to rename this layer with what will be featured on this layer. On this newly created layer, we will be first putting Nyan Cat's head. The reason why Nyan Cat's head has its own separate layer is because it has a different animation than the feet, the tail, the Pop-Tart, the rainbow, and the scrolling background. We will put each of these items on their own separate layer. So since we're going to put the head on the newly created layer, we can go back down to layer 2, double click on it. Now type Nyan_head and hit enter once you're done typing. The layer has now been renamed Nyan Head. With the layer renamed, we can now begin to trace Nyan Cat's head. When tracing or free drawing in Adobe Flash CS5, there are two tools you'll be constantly using. The first tool is the pencil tool, which is used for stroking. When stroking an object, you are just drawing the outline of the object. While on the other hand, the brush tool is the fill tool that will be used for filling in an object. If you are not comfortable with tracing and filling in Nyan Cat's head from this distance, then go to the magnifying glass in your toolbar, or by hitting the hotkey Z on your keyboard to select it. Now drag your cursor up to the top left-hand corner of Nyan Cat's head. Your cursor should now look like a magnifying glass with the plus sign in it. Hold down the left mouse button, and Nyan Cat should now zoom in. You can see once you zoom in too much, Nyan Cat will become more pixelated than normal. For me personally, I would probably zoom in one more time just to see how pixelated it is. So let's go ahead and do that. Yeah, that looks good, because I'm going for an exact look of Nyan Cat instead of my own parody of it. So this way I can see the exact strokes and fill areas of Nyan Cat. However, if this is too close for you, then keep the magnifying glass tool, which is called the zoom tool, still selected, but this time hold down Alt and your cursor will become a magnifying glass with a minus sign. This means that when you hit the left mouse button, your picture will zoom out instead of zooming in. There we go. We're one step back. If this is more comfortable for you, then please feel free to stay at this distance. But I'm going to zoom in one more. With our magnification set up, we can now begin to outline Nyan Cat's head. To outline the black boxes around Nyan Cat's head, we will be using the rectangular select tool. The reason why we're not going to use the pencil tool to stroke out the outline is due to Nyan Cat originally being drawn as an 8-bit pixel. This would be a pain to draw with the pencil tool because you'd have to draw each box and your boxes will not be exactly straight. However, with the rectangular select tool, we can get exact lines and rectangles just like Nyan Cat was originally drawn with. In order to select our rectangle tool, we must first go over to the toolbar and select our oval selection tool with our left mouse button. Hold down the left mouse button and a submenu will appear that will allow you to choose rectangle tool, rectangular primitive tool, oval primitive tool, or polystar tool. We will need to go up to the rectangular tool, since this is the tool we want, and select it with our left mouse button or by using the hotkey R on our keyboard. When your cursor is hovering over the stage, it will turn into a crosshair. The middle of the crosshair indicates where the rectangle is going to start. You should always put the middle of the crosshair in the top left-hand corner of the rectangle that you wish to draw. Before we can begin drawing the rectangle, we must make sure that the colors are exact for both the stroke and the fill. In this case for Nyan Cat, both the stroke and the fill are going to be a black color. The stroke box is indicated by having a pencil tool above the stroke box. To make sure that the stroke and the fill are the same black color, we need to go down to the stroke box in our toolbar and selecting it with our left mouse button. Once the stroke box has been selected, you can see all the different color options that are available for the stroke. However, we want black. So just take it over to the black area on the top left hand corner and select it with. We need to do the same thing with our fill colored box. The fill colored box is indicated with the bucket symbol above the box. Select the fill colored box, go over to the top left hand corner of the color box and select the black color. Both our stroke and fill of our rectangle will now be a solid color, indicated by both the fill and stroke box. With our rectangle tool still selected, we can go over to the stage and begin drawing the outline of Nyan Cat's head. However, as you can see on my timeline, my photo layer is selected. You must make sure that Nyan Cat's head layer is selected. To make sure that nothing is drawn on the photo layer, you can go over to the second black dot that is underneath the lock symbol and select it with your left mouse button. A lock symbol should appear above the black circle. This means that you cannot draw, change, or scale anything of the photo layer. So our image of Nyan Cat is going to be safe from any changes. Now go back down to the timeline and select Nyan Head. Once again, go up to the stage and put your cursor in the top left corner of a black outlining box of Nyan Cat's head. Once your cursor is in the top left hand corner of one of the black boxes outlining Nyan Cat's head, and drag your cursor all the way down to the bottom right hand corner of that box. You can see a white outlining of the intended black rectangle box that is going to be created on the Nyan Cat head layer. The original outlining black box that was on the reference image should now be covered with your newly created black rectangle box. If you wish to see what your drawing would look like without the reference image in place, go back down to the photo layer, but this time select the first black dot underneath the eye icon. This would hide your image so that the only thing that will be seen is anything different than that layer. In this case, since we only have one layer that has one black rectangle box on it, this is the only thing we can see. However, as we continue on with this tutorial, we will see more of Nyan Cat form on the whiteness of the stage. Now go back down and reactivate the reference image. Let's continue drawing the black boxes until the outline of Nyan Cat's head is completely finished. If you happen to come across the box that is too long or too big that you have drawn, and you wish to change the width or height or just redo it in general, you can use the hotkey Command-Z or Control-Z if you're on a PC to undo the last step that you have done. Also, make sure to keep hiding the reference image to make sure the outlining is okay and the corners are touching one another. Also, always remember you can use the magnification zoom tool to zoom in and out of your projects. If you're going to use the zoom tool, then you need to go up to the rectangle selection tool in your toolbox and select it with your left mouse button, or by using the hotkey R to reselect it so that you can continue on drawing the outline of Nyan Cat's head. I'm going to pause the tutorial now so that both you and I can finish outlining Nyan Cat's head. I'll come back and tell you how to fill in the fill of Nyan. Alright, now since we have the outline of Nyan Cat's head done, we can hide our reference image just to double check it one last time. Looks pretty good. If yours doesn't look close to mine, then please go back and watch the tutorial again and rework your outline until it looks similar to mine. If you did get it right the first time, then congratulations, and let's continue on with this tutorial. I'm going to reactivate the reference image, and now we'll be working on the grayish fill of Nyan Cat's head. Alright, just like the outline, there are two ways to do the fill of Nyan Cat's head. One is to use the rectangle tool again so that we can get the exact outlining of the fill inside Nyan Cat's head, or you can use the brush tool to fill in manually, like a paintbrush tool, the inside of Nyan Cat's head. Just like the pencil tool though, the brush tool is not exact, and so if you're not a very good painter or digital painter, you're going to be cutting into your outline. I'll show you how it looks. So I'll select the brush tool, and okay, I have a very small brush, but if I try to make a line up here to cut in the fill, let me make it a different color. Let's say green. I'll make it a bigger brush so you guys can see also. See, if I cut in, it's not an exact line. I have nothing against the brush tool. It's just, I just think I'd be more precise with the rectangle tool than the brush tool for this subject. So I'll undo what I just showed you guys. Alright. If you wish to use the brush tool, then go over to the brush tool in our toolbox, select it, and make sure that brush tool is selected. Select it with your left mouse button or by using the hotkey B on our keyboard. And now go down to the brush sizes, which is this top box right here, and select it with your left mouse button. Different sizes of the brushes that you are allowed to have in Adobe Flash CS5 will appear. I would recommend probably for the middle of Nyan Cat's head, more of the bigger brushes, and then if you were going for the detailed outlining around the corners, maybe some of these smaller brushes. I am going to be using the rectangle tool, again just like what we used for our outline. The next step though, it doesn't matter if you're using the brush or the rectangle tool, we need to change our stroke and fill colors again to this grayish color that Nyan Cat has for its fur color. In order to get this precise gray of color, we need to go over to our fill color and select it. Instead of choosing one of these preloaded colors, we are just going to go over to our stage, and our cursor will now turn into an eyedropper. This eyedropper will allow us to pick the exact color that is used in our reference image. So select a gray area with your left mouse button. You can see here that our fill color changes to the precise color that our reference image has. Do the same thing for your stroke color. I would recommend to try to choose the same area of gray that you chose for the stroke area, only so that Adobe Flash CS5 doesn't mix up the colors and you form a different weirdish gray color. With our rectangle tool selected, we can go over to the fill area of Nyan Cat and start tracing the inners of her fur. You would do this the same way that you would just do the outline, but try to be exact on the corners, and you don't worry about covering the cheeks and the eyes and the mouth and the nose. We'll do that next. Right now, only worry about filling in the outline with this gray color. So I'll go up here, select the top left-hand corner, and drag it all the way down to where I can make a nice looking rectangular box. Right here would look good. Right in here. Oh, got to make sure it's the same width 2, let go. There we are. Just keep repeating these steps until Nyan Cat's head is completely full. You can see that I missed here. So I'll use Control Z or Command Z depending on which type of computer you're on, and redo it. It's okay if you go into the outlining a little bit. Nyan Cat is based off an 8-bit drawing, so it's okay if it's pixelated a little. There we are. Do it again. Drag it all the way down in the width, the farthest we can make it. It's okay if your gray boxes overlap. They won't be seen. Sorry about that, a menu popped up. Just keep doing it until your Nyan Cat's head is completely filled. If you need to, again, just turn off the reference image. So you can see I missed a box here. Drag it over. There we are. We now have the fill and the stroking done for Nyan Cat's head. Now we can begin working on the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the cheeks. If we reactivate the reference image, we cannot see Nyan Cat's head. But now we're going to change the layer order so that the reference image will be on top, and what we're drawing cannot be seen because it's on the bottom layer. I know this sounds tricky, but it's not that hard. So go down to your timeline and select the photo layer with your left mouse button. While holding your left mouse button down, drag up with on your trackpad or with your mouse. This will place the photo layer on top of our Nyan Cat head layer. You will now be able to see the complete image of Nyan Cat's head. Now go down and select the Nyan Cat head layer again. Make sure the photo layer is not selected, only the Nyan Cat head layer. Now we're going to continue on with the drawing of Nyan Cat's head. We are going to be drawing her eyes. You can see that many features on Nyan Cat is a rectangle shape. This will give us good practice with the rectangle tool. Since her eyes are black, as well as her nose and mouth, we can change the stroke and fill color to a black color. So just like before, we can go over to our fill color and select black. The same with our stroke. Now since our colors are black and our rectangular tool is selected, we can go over to the top left-hand corner of our eye and hold down with our left mouse button and drag completely down until her eye is completely covered by the white outline that the rectangular tool makes. Alright, now I have drawn the first left eye. If we go down and hide our reference image, you can see that our drawn out Nyan Cat now has a black box for an eye. We're going to reactivate Nyan Cat's reference image and do the same thing for her right eye. Once again, if we hide the reference image, she will now have two eyes. Alright, so let's activate the reference image again, but this time do her nose. Let's say about like that. Do it again. There's her nose. Keep doing this for each item. Alright, now we can begin Nyan Cat's mouth. The mouth is different than the eyes and the nose because it's made up of 4 different rectangles. One here, one here, one here, and the long one down at the bottom right here. So just to create the mouth, we'll just go up in the left-hand corner with our rectangle tool and our black coloring. Select the top left-hand corner. If you mess up, just hit Command Z or Control Z. Drag it all the way down. Drag it down. Drag it down. And drag it all the way across. Alright, now we'll hide our reference image and see how our mouth looks. The mouth looks pretty good, just a little corner right here. So we'll just drag another, we'll just create another box just to make it equal with the corner. Use our zoom tool if we need to. Go in, go over to our box tool, select it, our rectangle tool, excuse me. Select it, Make it equal length and height. Select it. Keep drawing. There we go. That looks pretty good. You can see that there's a little area right here, but for right now, we'll just continue on. Alright, that's what our head looks like from afar. If you want to see what yours looks like from afar, go over to the move tool, the hand tool right here, and double click it with your left mouse button. It will resize your stage to fit in your area. I'm going to zoom back in with the zoom tool by hitting Z, selecting the top left hand corner right here, and draw a box around our Nyan Cat's head to zoom in. Just keep doing this. Alright, I'm going to reactivate our reference image. Looks pretty good. And now since we have our mouth and our eyes and our nose, we'll need to draw these white box areas in Nyan Cat's eyes. In order to change the eye color, we'll go over to our fill and stroke color and change them to white. Select the box, go all the way down here to the white box, select it with our left mouse button, and it will change our stroke color to white. The same with our fill color. Take it down to the white, select it with our left mouse button, and our fill will become white. Make sure our rectangle tool is selected. It is. Alright. Go over to our stage. In the top left hand corner, select it, and draw out our rectangle box for Nyan Cat's reflection in her eye. Alright, hide our reference image. Hide our reference image. Alright. Alright, we can go down and hide our reference image. And that looks pretty good. The reflections in her eye looks pretty much like the original. And if you would wish to make any changes, please pause the video and continue on with the changes. But I'm happy with the face so far, and so I'll continue on with the tutorial. So now I'll show our reference image, and now we'll begin the cheeks. The cheeks are just basically a square box with a pinkish fill. So just like anything else that we have done on the Nyan Cat's head, we'll go over, just change our colors. The cheeks are pretty much a rectangular pink fill. So in order to do that, we'll go over to our stroke color, select it by hitting the left mouse button, dragging our cursor over to the pink fill so that it turns into an eyedropper, and select the pink fill with our left mouse button. Now we'll do the same with our stroke color. Select it with your left mouse button, drag your cursor over to pretty much the same area of the pink color of Nyan Cat's cheek, and select the area with your left mouse button. Now our stroke and our fill are both a pinkish color that is almost exact to the original Nyan Cat's cheeks. So now we'll go over to the top left hand corner of Nyan Cat's cheek and draw it out with the rectangular box. Draw it out. Draw it out. If you want to see how your image looks so far, just like before, hide the reference image, and now we have Nyan Cat's completely made head.